The 1980s may be best remembered for its big hair, leg warmers, and neon, but that's not all it had to offer. Some of the horror movies that came out during the decade defined the genre for generations to come. In this video, we have narrowed it down to the 12 best horror movies of the 80s. Number 12. The Evil Dead is a 1981 breakthrough indie film that tells the story of Ash Williams, his girlfriend, and 3 pals that hike into the woods to a cabin for a fun night away. There they find an old book whose text reawakens the dead after it is read out loud. The friends inadvertently release a flood of evil and they must fight for their lives or become one of the Evil Dead. Evil Dead 2 came out in 1987, and this one was sort of a big-budget overhaul that had better special effects, more outrageous camera work, and an even larger-than-life performance. Number 11. Hellraiser is a 1987 movie that was based on Clive Barker's written work, The Hellbound Heart. It is about a mysterious puzzle box that a guy named Frank messes with and then opens up a portal to another dimension. This is when we are introduced to Pinhead as well as the other gruesome beings. When you think of 1980s horror, this is definitely one that should be on the list. This film created a franchise that led to 9 sequels. Number 10. Creepshow was a 1982 film inspired by comics. It was a collaboration between Stephen King and George A. Romero. The movie is made up of 5 short but terrifying tales that are sure to keep you watching and wanting more. It is perfect for the haunting season, and it is one that you will never forget. The movie led to a sequel that had some more short stories from Stephen King, but Romero was not involved in that one. Creepshow 3 and the TV series had neither the involvement of King or Romero, but the first 2 are definitely worth a watch. Number 9. The Hitcher is a 1986 horror action film that teaches us not to pick up hitchhikers. While transporting a car from Chicago to San Diego, Jim Halsey picks up a hitchhiker named John Ryder who claims to be a serial killer. After a daring escape, Jim hopes to never see Ryder again. But when he witnesses the hitchhiker murdering an entire family, Jim pursues Ryder with the help of a truck stop waitress, Nash, pitting the rivals against each other in a deadly series of car chases and brutal murders. Number 8. Day of the Dead was released in 1985, and it is the 3rd installment in George A. Romero's pioneering zombie series. It tells the story about some post-apocalyptic survivors in an underground missile silo who find themselves at each other's throats. At the same time, a team of scientists attempts to find a cure for the plague through research which includes domesticating a brain muncher known as Bub. Number 7. Child's Play is a 1988 film that plays into the fear that some people have of dolls. In this case, Chucky is a doll that comes to life thanks to the soul of a murderer who is placed inside by way of black magic. A mother buys the doll for her young son Andy, and then Chucky kills the son's babysitter. The boy tries to warn people that the doll is alive, but he is institutionalized. Now the mom has to convince the detective of the doll's intentions before Andy becomes the next victim. There have been multiple films in this franchise, and the doll Chucky has become iconic in his own right. Number 6. The Lost Boys was a 1987 film about a pair of brothers named Michael and Sam who moved to Northern California with their mom. Being new to the area is never easy, but they both make friends. Sam opts for a group of comic book nerds, but Michael gets mixed up with a guy named David who turns out to be the leader of a vampire gang. Now it's up to Sam and his new friends to save his brother. Number 5. A Nightmare on Elm Street is a 1984 supernatural slasher film that was written and directed by Wes Cravens. The movie follows several Midwestern teenagers who fall prey to Freddy Krueger, a disfigured midnight mangler who preys on teens in their dreams. If Freddy gets them in their dream, then it kills them in reality. Nancy and her boyfriend Glenn begin to suspect that a dark secret kept by her and her friend's parents may be the key to unraveling the mysterious happenings. The only problem is, can they solve the puzzle before it's too late? This iconic film made Freddy Krueger a household name, and it cemented him as one of the greats in horror films. The original film spawned off a franchise of 6 sequels and a ton of merchandise that is still just as popular as ever. Number 4. The Thing is a 1982 science fiction horror film that was directed by John Carpenter. It was based on the book Who Goes There, which was published in 1938. The movie had been done before with 1951's The Thing from Another World. But the 1982 film is considered to be a more accurate telling of the original work. The movie takes place in Antarctica, where a group of American research scientists are disturbed at their base camp by a helicopter shooting at a sled dog. When they take in the dog, it brutally attacks people and other dogs in the camp. Then they discover that the beast can assume the shape of its victims. A helicopter pilot and a camp doctor lead the camp crew in a desperate, gory battle against the vicious creature before it picks them off one by one. Number 3. The Shining is a 1980 psychological horror that is based on Stephen King's 1977 book. It is about a man named Jack who becomes a winter caretaker at the isolated Overlook Hotel in Colorado, hoping to cure his writer's block. As Jack's writings go nowhere and his son's visions become more disturbing, Jack discovers the hotel's dark secrets and begins to unravel into a maniac that is hell-bent on terrorizing his family. This movie was remade into a miniseries in 1997, but when you hear people talking about The Shining, it is the 1980 version that they are talking about. Number 2. Poltergeist hit the theaters in 1982, and this movie was different from any other that had ever came out. It is about a California family that has strange and creepy happenings. When ghosts commune with them through the television set, things seem friendly and playful at first. But then the spirits turn unexpectedly menacing. When the little girl Carol Ann goes missing, the parents turn to a parapsychologist and eventually an exorcist for help. At the time of its release, the movie had the best special effects that you could see on the screen. This movie is definitely a classic to watch during the Halloween season. Before we get to number 1, here are a couple others that are worth mentioning but did not quite make the list. An American Werewolf in London came out in 1981, and it was a horror comedy. It strikes the balance between terrifying and the absurd through its tale of 2 American backpackers in England. They were both attacked by a werewolf, leaving one dead and the other one turns into a werewolf. The special effects in this one were top-notch for the time period, and we were all blown away by them. The other movie which we should mention is Gremlins, which came out in 1984. This is a tricky one because we all thought that we were seeing a cute little movie about a cuddly gremlin named Gizmo. But then the movie shifts after he was touched by water or fed after midnight and sprouts hordes of evil gremlins. This movie was such a success that it gave way to Gremlins 2. And here is our number 1 pick for the 1980s best horror film. Friday the 13th came out in 1980, and it takes place at Crystal Lake, which has a history of murder. This does not deter counselors from setting up a summer camp in a woodsy area. Superstitious locals warn against it, but the young and naive folks pay little attention to them. Because of that, they find themselves stalked by a brutal killer, and the counselors struggle to stay alive against a merciless opponent. This movie did not feature Jason Voorhees as its actual villain, but it did lay the foundation for the franchise as well as a legion of other slasher films that later came out. Most people who are into horror films know who Jason Voorhees is, and they also associate him with wearing a hockey mask. Jason did not don the hockey mask until 1982's Friday the 13th Part 3. When it comes to horror movies, the 1980s has a slew of them that came out. Some of them were shown in theaters while others went straight to video. There is no doubt that there were other great horror movies in the 80s that could have been on this list. What are your favorite horror films of the 1980s? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.